This is absolutely incredible. So there was another bigger island. You can see here, that's the island there. And you can guess what that thing is. It's an underground tunnel which leads to the island. So I saw this island and I saw that there's a path to it. I thought it was a bridge on Google Maps. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna take that bridge to get to the island. But no, you literally access it underground and you can even see there, that's where the tunnel comes back up. So I'll show you guys as I walk through just to see what the tunnel's like. It reminds me of the Arc de Triomphe, because the Arc de Triomphe in Paris also is only accessible by underground means. Since it's such a big roundabout, you cannot traverse it at ground level. But anyways, what is this island? We just saw the Mohammed Gandhi island, but this one is, I would say, it's quite bigger, so it has a bigger signification, I guess. It's the Island of Remembrance. It was built the day after the First World War, which I find just amazing. I'm not sure if the construction began or if they finished it in one day, but either way, it's written on the sign. It was built on the day after this First World War. And here we'll see 10,600 names of people from Lyon that died during the First World War for France. And appropriately so, they say, please adapt your behavior in relation to what you're about to kind of embark upon, which is of course an island dedicated to those who died for our freedom. And yeah, so I'll show you the tunnel and see you there. So here you guys go, we're in the underground section I just entered through. And it's quite short, of course, it's not incredibly long, but that's the exit. And I'll show you guys the monument when I get to the other side. So here you guys are at the monument. It's quite big, so there's no way I could capture it in like one shot. But you can see here along the entire outside wall, we have the name of those 10,600, I believe, citizens of Lyon who essentially died for the First World War. And this is just one side of the four. You also have here a kind of memorial or a kind of a depiction of it seems to be a horse or something. Yeah, a woman and a horse, but it's very dilapidated. And that's actually the monument there on essentially the roof of the monument. That too is in very bad condition. So I'm not sure, I'm kind of disappointed because I know where I work in a World War I memorial, in one dedicated to Canada, they take the maintenance extremely seriously. But here it's definitely seen better days. You can even see here all of the kind of deterioration. Perhaps it's because they don't want to modify it. They think that it's something that must not be touched. But even so, this is something dedicated to all those that died, so I think it should be maintained better. But that's just my observation in my opinion. So I just did the entire 360 tour, but I'm just now on the roof or the upper level, and you can see it's extremely well done, at least with the trees, so that I'm not going to complain about. You can see you have an alley of trees, I don't know, with these purple blooming flowers leading all the way to the monument. So that aspect, I give my thumbs of approval, and I'm not going to look at the monument. So I just wanted to quickly point out few things. You have the geese going crazy, but here you actually have some sort of altar thing where you can go underneath, and there's a plaque here, but there's nothing written about the sign. And then the monument here is for the First World War, so that's when it was built the next day after the war ended, but it's also been dedicated to the Second World War. You can see there 1945 and 1939 written below. But that was the only modification, it seems, that's been done to the monument since it was first installed, because in fact all of the other essentially plaques of remembrance are supplementary on the side. So this one is dedicated to the Marines, all of the Lyonnais who died in the Marine Corps. And then you can see over there you have two more. One is for the Moroccan War or the African War, and another one is for the Indochina War. I think that's the same thing as Vietnam, but I'm not entirely sure. So it's interesting that they did not want to defigure the memorial. It was only the first two world wars that had the significance of being on the monument itself, and then you have these additional ones added on the side. So now we're actually in the rosary, and as the name suggests, there's a bunch of roses. I don't know if that's the term used in English, but literally that's kind of just how you say it, but that's how you say it in French, but with an English accent, rosary. And it's quite a beautiful area. There's no shade, unfortunately, so I'm really kind of trying to protect myself with my hat like this. But yeah, it's interesting. One thing that I want to mention is something I learned from James Clear's book. It's actually a productivity book, and he kind of used the analogy of those horticulturists, or I don't know who are the people who trim essentially flowers. They always have to trim some of the rosebuds in order to allow for those that are really large to fully blossom to their highest potential. If you don't trim all of the rosebuds, then you essentially have a bunch of mediocre, or essentially a bunch of rosebuds that have not reached their full potential. And that's something that he applied in his book to real life. So if you have like 30 goals and you always just treat them all with equal importance, you're never actually going to realize any of them. Instead, if you toss aside those ones which are slightly less important and keep just a few main goals, then you'll be able to fully develop and blossom with those goals. And I really enjoy that analogy. I'm taking the advantage to tell that to you guys because I'm in the Rosary. It's also something that I need to work on because I have all of these goals. But if you only have them essentially in your mind and there's too many to handle, you'll never actually execute. So that's just what I want to say. And I think next there's a velodrome. So literally a bicycle track that I would like to see. So actually here, I hate how the focus always is messed up, but you have the bridge which leads to the velodrome that I was just talking to you guys about. You can see it kind of traverses the water here, but you can see, hopefully, the fences that are just there. It's not focusing, but there's fences there and there's a security guard as well. So it's a velodrome. I asked the security guard that was standing there. He said it's not really used currently for like actual competitions, but there's a tennis event going on, or they're preparing at least for it. So that's why it's closed off, because they're preparing the velodrome to be a tennis court, I imagine. So that's the history, that's the story. So guys, behind me you have pétanque. So that's the French national game, I would say, even though of course there's other games that are like soccer and rugby that are much more popular, but this is the game that I would say is the most popular game of the people. So this is the one that actually people play. It's like curling. If you've ever been to Canada, they kind of throw these steel balls and try to get closest to a center point. I don't want to really film them while they're playing, but you can kind of see there that they all have their silver balls, and it's quite interesting to watch. I was watching for perhaps 5 minutes there, and I enjoyed it. All right, guys, so we're now in the zoo, and what you can see behind me are bat-eared foxes. There's 2 sleeping here behind me, and that's like the kind of description. So these are found native to Africa, and they're called the bat-eared fox because they have the big ears, which you can probably notice, and that's because they hunt insects, lizards, and they also eat some fruit, so small vertebrates, and that's kind of their diet, and that's why they have those small ears to detect them. You can see right now they're in the shade, but it's interesting. It's written on the sign that each or like the family composition is usually 2 females and 1 male, and then that's like the family unit. So I just thought that was interesting, because it's not a monogamous relationship apparently. Here you have the toupee, and I tried to find a translation, but I couldn't. I think they're just called that in English as well, perhaps. Maybe it's a Latin name, but you can see them here in the enclosure. And the thing I found interesting is the fact that they can go 300 beats per minute, and I'm not sure if that's their resting heart rate. So you can see with their sudden movements, that kind of shows how their heart rate is extremely high. And I can even see from up close, like the blood vessel just going. So it's cool. Of course, smaller animals in general do have high heart rates, so it's nothing abnormal. Here, there's an animal I've never seen in my life. It's over there. It's called a Malay tapir. It's kind of like an elephant, rhino, hippopotamus baby thing. It's really cool, and I assume it's from Malaysia since its name is Malay. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that really quickly. And we're currently in what's called the Asian forest. So we have a bunch of Asian species. And yeah, apparently there's giraffe too. So I'm gonna try to find the giraffe because that's what I really want to see. Okay guys, so behind me here you have some type of crane, or it's a really big waterfowl. And also in the background you can see there's a few zebras as well. So this is the Africa section. I still really haven't found the giraffe, so I'm gonna give up on that because I've already been here for a few hours and I want to see the rest of the city. But you can see even more of those waterfowl in that direction. And yeah, it's impressive. So with that being said, I'm gonna try to make my way to the exit, and I'll let you guys know if I see anything. So guys, I hope the wind isn't too bad. I think it is, but I'm currently crossing the river Garonne, or Garonne, and that's actually why you saw that earlier in the first part we had the ports of the kids of Garonne. So this is actually the river, the main river that crosses the city. So I was wondering, what is the meaning of this word? But yeah, I'm crossing into the kind of more touristy, the old part of the city now, so it should be very interesting. This is amazing, guys. I'm still trying to catch my breath because that's the bridge I just passed, and it's insane the significant rise in elevation in this old part of the city just as you enter. You can see the rooftops of houses there just below me. I literally went up like at least like 100 stairs, and then this is what's rest. I mean, that's what's remaining. So yeah, I'm gonna finish and then I'm gonna go somewhere to get a drink of water and rest.